Happy Last of Us Day, everybody. We finally have episode 1 of The Last of Us. I finally have watched it. It's been my most anticipated show, and just in general, any form of entertainment media for this year. And just as a point of context, thank you so much for clicking on this. I just got done doing my live reaction. I'm going to be doing these every Sunday if you want to watch along with me. I'm a massive, I was about to say Naughty Dog fan. I am a major Naughty Dog fan, but I'm also a major Last of Us fan. This is my favorite video game of all time. And I'm obsessed with this world, and I love just kind of a little bit of background context. I love the casting choices. They were interesting ones, but I was one that I was so into. I love Craig Mazin, who's going to be handling this, as well as just loved everything that was kind of being built up, specifically that this was going to be on HBO. So I've been a major fan of this. I've been a little bit worried because you're adapting my favorite video game of all time, but if anything is to go off of the early reactions and reviews and from people I've talked about who have seen the entire first season, they all loved it. And everyone kind of calmed my nerves. But again, I love the game, so I'm going to be a little bit more specific. And after watching episode 1, this is hands down the best first episode of a show I have watched in a while for a new season. As well as the way that they kind of combined it. There was rumors that this was supposed to be a 10-episode series, and you can tell that they probably shortened episodes 1 and 2 and combined them together, which is probably the smartest thing that you could have done. But before we get any further in this will be a full spoiler review for episode 1. I'm going to do my best not to talk about future things for Last of Us in case people who have never played the games are watching this. I don't want to spoil any big surprises that could potentially be happening, but I will talk about certain things that happen up to this point in the game. So if you haven't played the games, you're out of luck there. But make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you are also a massive fan of The Last of Us, or just in general love talking movies and TV. I try to put up a new video every single day talking about one of those mediums, and The Last of Us we're going to be heavily covering all these next 9 weeks. So you're in store for a lot of great stuff. So starting out with this first episode was about an hour and 25, hour and 30 minutes, and it was flawless. I loved the buildup. I loved the minor changes, and I love, even though I knew what was going to happen to Sarah, even though I knew what was going to happen to, say, building up to between Marlene and Ellie, and just in general, building up these certain relationships, all these elements are truly coming together in a more spectacular way that you possibly could bring it, in a very eager way as well. And talking about the first 30 minutes of this, flat out, Pedro Pascal, perfect casting as Joel Miller. He gets the mannerisms down, but also shows different sides of him. And specifically that can come from the writing as well, but they show different sides of him that were honestly very important and special for me to really see. You see some alcoholic and drug aspects, especially when they jump to 20 years later, but I am jumping way too far ahead. This kicks off on Joel's birthday. You see the relationship between him and Tommy, you see Sarah, you see all that kind of coming into fruition. And, Sarah, she's in school, she gets some money, she has the watch that us fans from the games know exactly what are a part of, takes that, of course, then jumps and tries and goes to get it fixed. All of this little thing ramping up behind the scenes, which again, if you've never played the games, you have no idea what's coming. You can assume. And then she goes to the old people's house, and of course, one of them starts getting all creepy in the back, which the horror tone of this is probably some of my favorite aspects that they've actually developed in this show. In the game, it's haunting at times. Specifically, some of the sequences where it's dark and you don't know where things are peeking around the corner, and I'm curious to see how they adapt certain other clickers and infected that we get to see. Clearly, just from this, we've just seen the runners, but each and every time we did run into one, they were absolutely horrifying. Every single one of the ones of this in Outbreak Day was honestly really terrifying. And seeing that old lady in the background, then her go back and then give the watch to Joel, and just seeing the mannerisms and how one for one some of the lines were, but certain changes that kind of add to the different aspects. Of course, we see Tommy's actually gets arrested, so we know there's that kind of background of him fucking up a lot. Joel having to go bail him out. She goes to check. The dog, thank God, did not die. I would have absolutely been pissed if we had to see a dog die. I hate seeing animals die in these types of things. But she goes in, sees the old crazy lady. She runs out. Joel kills her. Sarah starts freaking out, and then they start taking. And again, the way that they frame the entire car ride just brings this ambiguity that I wasn't expecting. And I was waiting for a car to hit them, from the game, but instead a plane crashes, knocks the car over, and Sarah's ankle's broken. And from there, the emotions started to swell. Joel picks her up and starts running, gets away from some infected, which again, that infected chasing them was creepy. Runs into the soldier kills them, and the soldier feels really no much remorse. He's just like, hey, like, this is the job, and ends up shooting at them. Tommy kills the soldier, and right there my heart sank because I knew exactly what was going to happen. And I had to relive it for like the 500th time that I've played this game and relive this story. And when he's trying to revive his baby girl, and she dies. And it cuts and takes us to 20 years later. And we get a little bit more of an outlook of the Federa's like quarantine zone. We see what they do. We see this kid coming up, and it turns out that he's infected, which was great parallels to multiple things, showing how serious the Federa are handling this. No matter if they're a kid, an adult, it does not matter. But also, it shows that great parallel of when we see the red, when they hit the thing with Ellie at the end, we see how that connects. And we see instantly, like, as audience members, we're like, holy shit. Visually, they're very good at bringing to life a lot of these different aspects, and I was very excited and really much enamored with all of this and in love with all of this, and I could not imagine how incredible each and every one of these scenarios were. And it just the storytelling on the actual immersive aspects of the production design was great. Seeing Joel pretty much just doing his day-to-day work of throwing bodies in there and picking up whatever he can, like the plumbing thing, saying, the guy saying the one that deals with shit. And then the other aspect I really liked about this was it actually shows what like Joel and Tess would do, smuggling drugs, smuggling certain things, and even drugs to soldiers. That was one of the aspects that I was actually curious to see, because in the games, they kind of just allude to what they smuggle, but there's just that little sense of narration kind of adds a little bit more. I also like seeing that he is still really caring for Tommy, where in the games, it seemed like he didn't. He goes to that radio guy and goes, I haven't heard from him, and pretty much he's like, point on the map where this is, which leads him on a different journey as well, because obviously we know that he's going to have to transport Ellie, but where does that take him with Tommy as well? And I'm also very excited to see how they kind of take those different entries, and seeing Tess deal with Robert and kind of how that works. Fantastic performance across the board with Tess. This is played by Anna Torv, who I really loved how she brought Tess to life. Like, I love each and every one of the little subtleties in here. Of course, Bella Ramsey's Ellie is phenomenal. It's just like, it's a one-for-one. Yes, I know she doesn't look like her, but she didn't need to. Pedro doesn't look like Joel Miller. He has aspects of him because of what they can do with the costume design, but Pedro's mannerisms work. Bella Ramsey's work. And after just one episode, an hour, 30 minutes, and just into a little bit of time with each and every one of these characters, it really brought them to life and made me feel, yes, this is the character that I know and love from the games. Or maybe even hate. The character of Robert, I mean, that guy is a piece of shit, and you see that. And I like, I know some people might not be happy that we don't get a lot of the action and the nuances with that, but I don't think it's needed because those are gameplay scenarios. People might be disappointed with that overall. I think we'll get aspects of that, but I think saving that violence leads to the moment when Joel beats the shit out of that Federa agent who had him under guard. I think that was a moment that was expressingly exciting and also kind of takes that violence in a different way. And of course, when they notice that Robert's dead, they find the battery. We see all the other people dead in the hallway. We see Marlene, which again, I love that they brought Meryl back to play Marlene. Of course, she voiced her in the games. Does a great job here adapting it. And really much what the mission is and why they can't take her. It feels a little bit better in that nuance. Like, it feels like in the games, they kind of just go off of, oh, Marlene trusts Joel and I was about to say Ellie, but it feels like they just trust them. And here it's a little bit different. She knows they'll get the job done. She knows what they want. She knows what the mission is, but they're all fucked. It's like they all just died. So I do like the differences in there, and I think they add that to a little bit of nature. And I also like just the nuances between her and Ellie and how Marlene knows who Ellie is and why she took there. And I'm excited to, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but we are going to get an Ellie flashback in here. It's kind of something they've hinted at in the trailers. If you played the games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When we get to that sequence, I think that's going to be a very important episode that maybe even dives into a little bit more of Marlene and kind of that relationship between certain things and how she knows of Ellie and why she brought Ellie there. And I'm excited to see those elements. Now, taking on from there, of course, they take Joel, they take Ellie, and they take Tess. They go back to their apartment. Tess is like, I'm going to go out and do this. You guys stay. Ellie kind of already finds this book, which kind of ties into Bill and Frank, which we know will be coming into the show eventually, and I'm excited to see how that goes. But it just goes into their going into smuggle. And by the time the episode ends, they're rammaging through, and they get caught by that one guy that Joel sells drugs to, and Ellie stabs him, Joel kills him, and I love the subtle flashback of seeing Sarah, and how he feels like I could have done something right there. And I love, love, love how that kind of ties into there, because Joel, in a way, might not care for Ellie personally, but he knows she's just a kid. And just that motion of him beating the shit out of him was fantastic. I loved this first episode. Maybe you can call me a biased fan, sure, maybe I am. But I'm very excited to hear your guys' thoughts on here. I want to hear your guys' thoughts if you've ever played the games, if you haven't played the games. I want to see all those down below. I'm going to be trying my best to reply back to as many comments as I can. And again, we'll be here every Sunday reviewing and doing a live watch along right after the episode. So thank you so much again for watching this, guys. You guys are really all the best. What a phenomenal first episode this was. Make sure to again hit that like and subscribe. And of course, until next time, stay classy.